So this is Kira, and she's getting ready for her first saddling. Now she's already done all of her other groundwork prep, and this is one of the last things I do, where I put just a rope around her belly, and I'm going to pull it tight and release. And certain places, I'm going to do it up by the cinch, but then particularly I'm going to do it back here in the flank, and just make sure we don't have any big reactions. She gave me a big sigh there, and she was letting me know everything was good. Of course, we always do a lot of saddle pad desensitizing on both sides, getting them very used to that. And then we get prepared to actually put the saddle up there and get going. So now I'm going to desensitize with the saddle a little bit. I'm going to move it and flop it. Let it see it up there on her back. Approach and retreat. And I'm going to go ahead and go with it. She was giving me the green light. Now I'm on the right side there, so I can go ahead and let my cinches down. I only want to make one crossover in front of her on this first saddling in case she bolts forward or loses her mind or just, takes off in a bucking fit. You don't want to be going back and forth. So to make this more efficient, and I tack mine on the right a lot. When I do that on the right, I let the cinches down. I only have to come in front of her one time, and I'm going to cinch her up here. And this is one of those things where you want to be quick and efficient because you don't want this to go bad and then start bucking and you lose your saddle. But you don't want to be in so much of a hurry that you're fumbling or you're making the horse anxious. But you want to have a very confident going way about you when you're doing this first saddling. We want to get it on and get it snugged up pretty good, and then we're going to get out of the way. And when we talk about snugging up the saddle for the first time, I don't snug it up so tight that it's going to cut them in half. I snug it up to where I feel pretty confident it's going to be on them, because this pressure they're about to feel is already sort of alarming to them. So I don't want it to be overwhelming. And I want it on enough that if they go to bucking and stuff, the saddle will stay on. But we'll tighten it again later once they get used to it and they've got a little bit of air knocked out of them. So here she is, saddled up with her 2 cinches. Now, sometimes I'll let the rope go like that, and I will just let them use the outside of the round pin. And she did not want to immediately bolt off, and that's fine. On the first saddling, they're allowed to buck. After that, I'm going to shut it down. But on this first saddling, they're allowed to kind of really wear it, feel it out, and they can buck and get used to it. But from the second saddling forward, we're not going to do that. Now, she could still explode because she hasn't really moved yet. So to try to talk her out of bucking, I'm going to start by just yielding her hindquarters. 2 eyes. Yielding her hindquarters. This is like yielding hindquarters stage 2 here because I'm far away from her. 2 eyes. So what I'm doing here is I'm not just sending her straight out on a straight line to start bolting and bucking if that's in her mind. I'm letting her move around a little bit, so now she's feeling the saddle in with her moving, but she's disengaging her hindquarters and focused on me. So it's not that big of a deal. You're going to have plenty of them that just kind of lose all focus and they just lose it, and they're going to bolt forward and start bucking. But if they give you this opportunity where you can talk them out of those kind of things, then we're going to definitely take advantage of that and make this as positive an experience as possible. So she's doing really well here. She's yielding both ways. She's very focused on me. So in a second here, I'm going to go ahead and send her forward. Now I'm going to desensitize her here. She hears that string over the saddle. That sounds a little different, so you can see those ears. She says, that doesn't sound the way it normally does. We're not getting any reaction. Getting some body posture, but we're not getting a reaction. All right, I'm going to take up my string here and just use my stick. And I'm going to go ahead and send her forward. Now here she could still buck and act really stupid. And she's kind of like, she just kind of skedaddled off a little bit. No big deal. She's thinking about it. I'm going to go ahead and yield and stop her. I don't want them to just get going, going, going on a straight line or a circle and not have a transition coming up that brings the focus back to me. It's not on the saddle, it's on me. What am I asking you to do? And I'm usually asking you to come to a stop and relax. And this filly has, you can see how well her groundwork prep is. She knows exactly what I'm asking her to do. She's not focused on the saddle or being reactive to it. But when I start to get the feeling that maybe she is, I'm going to go ahead and shut her down. So this is teaching her when she starts to feel worried, she's going to stop. She's going to yield her hindquarters and she's going to look at somebody. And let's say I'm not on the ground anymore and I'm riding her. A lot of times they'll just stop. And sometimes they'll even turn and look back at you. They'll flex because we do a lot of flexion. And you can rub them because what a great response that is. I see her there. She's lowering her head. That's her just relaxing and just totally looking at me and being focused at me. She's saying, I'm not afraid of this. I shouldn't be afraid of this because you're my leader. You put it on me, so it can't be that bad. And that's the relationship that you want to have with these horses. You build this through all of the groundwork exercises, and there's many of them. Groundwork is not just lunging your horses. It's not just lunging them into oblivion, teaching them to pull on the halter. It's a series of about 30 exercises to bring them to you. So here I am, and I'm snugging up the cinch again. So she did really well with that. So now it's a bit tighter. And I'm just making sure she's going to back up. She kind of postured just a little bit, like she might leap forward on top of me. So I just gave her a little pressure there on the halter, saying, don't come towards me. And I'm going to yield her hindquarters again, because the cinch is snugger now. So she's feeling more pressure, a little more grip, a lot more hug on her. And that is what makes the horses jump up and buck. They're being squeezed, and they've never been squeezed like that before. When horses feel pressure, they want to get away from it, and if it scares them, they're going to be reactive. But as you can see, this filly's not afraid. She's just focused on the task at hand, which is whatever I'm asking her to do. This really is such a textbook for saddling. It's not even funny. I feel like this doesn't really represent what we go through most of the time. This filly was really great, and she was really prepared. But a lot of times, no matter how much preparation we get, when they feel that snug cinch for the first time, they're gonna wiggle and buck around a little bit. Of course, not all of them, but this filly was atypically fantastic. I loved how relaxed she was. I just loved everything about it. I was extremely proud of her and how she handled this and the work that she did. And it just worked out great. Preparation pays off. It pays off every single time. We're going to take a rest here for a moment, and I'm going to walk up there and desensitize her and just let her catch her breath and just spend time with her and let her know, it's okay. Sometimes we move our feet, sometimes we rest and get petted. And we have to have equal parts of that. This was a reactive filly, and she was just a bit defensive too. She had a little bit of a kick to her and things like that. And so with those horses, they have to understand that you tell them when to move and when to stop and when to do those things. You're going to move them around some, but you're also going to do a lot of resting together and a lot of just time together. And during that resting time, especially when they're just a bit tired, that's the best time to introduce a new desensitizing tool or object or whatever. But even just standing there and doing the stick and string over their back is really great for them. They know this exercise. They know this means, hey, I'm getting loved on, and we get to rest and just hang out for a minute until it's time to do the next activity. And so it's just very, very important to balance your sensitizing work with your desensitizing work, especially on first saddle day. First saddling day is very sensitizing for the horses. So I'm going to do extra sessions of desensitizing. And here we are desensitizing again at the last of our session here after that last cinch tightening. I usually tighten the cinch 3 different times. We're going to just desensitize here and take a second and do her legs, do all of her, spank the ground, all of it. And then she will go out for the night with her saddle on. She's going to wear it. She's going to roll in it. She's going to rub on it. She's going to shake in it. She's going to be really, really used to it. That saddle is going to be no different to her than her mane or tail. And that's what I want. I want them to be very desensitized to it, very familiar with it. I know that they can live with it and do all things needed in it. There's nothing scary. It is part of their outfit now. So tomorrow morning I'll come and I'll take it off of her. And when I do that, I'll take it on and off 5 or 6 times and just make sure that part is good. Sometimes they'll wear it fine, but they're still a little spooky about it being unsaddled or resaddled. So always check that.